Welcome back to the Healing Room. Happy New Year. Going to be an amazing year to come. I can feel it in my bones. Get ready for the ride. So today's topic of conversation in the Healing Room is reincarnation, which for me is a pretty important topic because what we believe about reincarnation impacts how we live in this world. So some people wholeheartedly believe it's true that we reincarnate over and over again. Others don't think it's true at all. And still others are on the fence about it. They don't know either way. But for me, it's 100% accurate and true that we are souls having multiple experiences in these bodies over and over and over again. Thousands upon thousands of times we are coming back to have this human experience, to experience the world of separation, of the split in consciousness. And, if one is aware of that, then the way one behaves relates to the awareness that everything that I am doing in this incarnation, everything that I am taking action on, saying, behavior, is impacting my past and my future. So yes, impacting my past in this lifetime, but also impacting my past lives and future lives. So everything that's happening today is the conglomeration, right? It's the accumulation of all of our past experiences. There's nothing that we are today that isn't included in all of our past. And, one can learn about all this by reading one's records, right? So all of what we have done, all of what we have experienced exists in what is called the Akashic Records. So every soul has records in this cosmic, what I would call the cosmic computer. The Akashic Records is everything that has happened in existence to each soul, to any period of time. And so we can be informed of what we have gone through, what we have experienced when we can access these records. And, what proof do I have that such a thing exists, right? How can I prove that reincarnation is real, that the soul exists and has these records that are accumulated in this storehouse of information? Well, if you think about it, that child at 5 years old, for example, that is they call him a prodigy, who can play like Mozart at 5 years old perfectly. Like, where does that come from? If it didn't come from somewhere in the past, how would someone in this lifetime get to a place of such mastery if they didn't rehearse day after day, year after year? So in the same way, there's no way one can be born with such a level of mastery and skill if they didn't accumulate this capacity somewhere else in time, perhaps many lifetimes. I remember a friend of mine went to a clairvoyant to find out, what should I do with my career? And the clairvoyant said, well, you were an acupuncturist in numerous lifetimes. You should consider that. And she did. And she's an excellent acupuncturist because she's building from her past experiences. She's coming into the world not new, but she is coming with a level of knowledge that she can take the studies that she did and bring it to the next level. And she was over the top fantastic. She was an alchemist. And so it behooves us to begin to come to the place of sitting with who have I been? What have I done? What am I here to accomplish? And so that is where this piece of information of our past lives and reincarnation comes in handy. There's a pretty well-known hypnotherapist who's written 18 books. Her name is Dolores Cannon. She was an excellent hypnotherapist, and she could find so much information about people to the point where they would come in with a chronic terminal illness, and after the session, they would be completely healed. And how that happened is she guided the soul back to the origin of the illness. And somehow, in touching that moment in time, she was able to rectify whatever the cause was and come back completely transformed. Now, she has 4 books called The Convoluted Universe, where she is sharing all of these hypnotherapy sessions where people will go back and get to the source to understand, why is this happening to me in my life today? Why do I have these particular struggles? Why do I have these particular illnesses? Why do I have these particular parents? Why do I have challenges in relationships? And you see, when we go back into this level of consciousness, back into the records, then we begin to rectify the split, right? The cause of all dis-ease is a split in consciousness. And the reason why we keep reincarnating is to rectify the split in consciousness. So however we can do that, however we can manage that, that's our job. So some people are never gonna, be interested in such information. It's just not their path in this lifetime. Other people will be very interested in this stuff. And, I grew up in a religious, a Catholic household where I was sent to school, Catholic school for 12 years, where I was taught that when I die, I'm going to go be with Jesus, that this is the only lifetime, and that when I leave this world, I will go be with Jesus because I was baptized, I received communion, I received confirmation, I gave my sins to the priest and I was forgiven. So when I die, that's it. I go right to this master. And it never resonated for me that that was the truth, because it didn't make sense that just because you went through these experiences in this religion, you went to be with this master, regardless of what your personality was like, regardless of what you did in this world to other people, positive or negative. It just didn't resonate. So as I matured and started to go on a spiritual path, I asked for a teacher when I'm in my early 20s. I said, I'd really like to find someone who can help me understand my soul's purpose and I was quite psychic at that point in time, psychic, intuitive, and I couldn't understand what to do with all the information that was coming through. So within a month of me asking, I met this teacher who was a master clairvoyant, and she would inform me, like she would just go right into the records and inform me of what my challenges were, what my gifts were, what I was here to do. You know how great it is to hear at 24 years old, this is your life's purpose. Because, I had a degree in marketing and business, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be working in this field. That's not what I'm here to do. I knew what I didn't want to do, but I just didn't have the information of what I wanted to do. And so hearing about my past lives and what I had accomplished really supported me in being who I am today, because I started on the journey immediately when she said, this is the work you have to do. And it was very hard work. But because I had the teacher and because I was so intuitive, I had access to information that would assist me in progressing through challenge after challenge after challenge. So there are those that can read the records that can really be beneficial. Now, just because someone says they can read the records doesn't mean they can read the records well, because everybody is perceiving through the lens of their own personality. So in order to really be an accurate reader of records, to be an accurate clairvoyant, clairaudient, one has to be a very clear channel internally so that they don't project upon the records and give correct information. But when you can find someone like that who can bring through such information, and it's information that you know is true because it resonates. It resonates. It may sound wild, but it doesn't matter because it resonates. So I have access to the records. I've been doing readings since the 1990s. That was one of my first careers, was a psychic intuitive. And I would access the records. I wasn't aware that I was doing it because it's not like I'm now going to go read the records. That's not how I operate. Other people do. But information would just come through because the channel was open. And the information that comes through is exactly what the person is ready to receive now, what the person needs to hear now to further their healing or to support them on the next steps of their path. So it's in their field of consciousness. It's not somewhere far away. It's actually very close to the person's awareness. And that's why when a seer shares this information, the person receiving it can corroborate by saying, that totally resonates and it relates to what I'm going through in my life today. It relates to what I'm going through in my life today. So any of us can actually have access to our own records in meditation. Because meditation is when the observer is activated and when we are most empty. And so these impressions will come through. These sensations will come through. And you watch them, you observe them. And then as you do this over time, you can then begin to track the impressions you're getting. And you can track them to other incarnations, and you can access information. How was it in that incarnation? Was I masculine? Was I male? Was I female? What was my mindset? What was my emotions? What were my challenges? We all actually have access to this information if we can slow ourselves down enough to receive, to stop generating, right, thoughts. From the beginning of the meditation today, I had us call all of our energy back to this moment in time, because it's through the portal of this moment in time that you have access to the all and everything. So you call all the parts back. You stop the mind. Oh, as much as you can stop a mind. You calm the mind down. You let it go empty. Then the mind can receive impressions, just like a projector projecting on a blank screen, because the mind is a blank screen. And then there is access. There is access to information. Years ago, I was working with a physician in New York City as an intuitive, and this kid came in with his diagnosis was like ADHD. He couldn't sit down. He would just run around the room continuously. And I was just observing him and hearing the mother say what she was saying about the child. He was about 5 or 6 years old. And I wrote down a piece of paper because I couldn't always say what I was seeing to the doctor because it was too strange. And I wrote on a piece of paper, this is a star child. He can't access his physiology. He's vibrating too high of a frequency and it's throwing off his nervous system. He needs support and grounding. And so I wrote that in a little sticky, gave it to the doctor. He looked at me like with a cock eye, like, what am I supposed to do with this about this kid being a star being. And I could read his thoughts like none of this is making sense to me. So I asked the kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be a star pilot. And the doctor looked at me like, okay, you can't make this stuff up. I don't even know what a star pilot is, but he knew he was not from this world. And he was remembering the other part of himself that probably was still existing in another time-space experience. He was split. And so the doctor gave him flower essences and homeopathic remedies to support him in rectifying the split. So the seeing of the records allowed me to understand what was causing the dis-ease, give that information to the doctor, the physician, the holistic physician, to give a remedy to rectify the split. Now, if that wasn't done, the child could perhaps go on some ADHD drug like Ritalin or something, right? They're going to give him something to calm this kid down. But they're not really getting to the source of the problem. They're not really hitting the causal point. And so there are many arguments for the veracity of reincarnation. And there's also a book by Brian Weiss called Many Lives, Many Masters. Maybe you have read it. Came out in the 1990s. And it's the story, he's a psychiatrist, Dr. Brian Weiss, and he was also a hypnotherapist. And he had this client that had so many issues and so many traumas. And so over a period of years, he would put the client under and take them on a journey. And where this client took him was from past life to past life. And in each lifetime, there was one trauma after another. He said he could, there was like no like Cleopatra's or something, extravagant or positive. It was always like a lifetime of trauma and pain and suffering. And for years, he did that with this client. And by the end of this process, she was cured of her anxiety and her dis-ease. So again, another example of, how can you explain that away as a coincidence? How can that be explained away, especially when you have another hypnotherapist having similar experiences with clients coming in one session with these chronic terminal illnesses and leaving healed? Like, how is that possible if this wasn't all real? Awesome. So lots more to talk about with reincarnation and the benefits of checking out, of understanding, of getting to the patterns so that one can heal those patterns in this lifetime. And the other thing I want to talk about with reincarnation is that the healing we do today directly impacts all the previous aspects of ourselves, because all that exists in time and space. All of our past experiences exist in time and space. So when we heal in this moment, it domino effects into the past, and it incorporates all those parts of us that are split off. We collect all the fragments of our past. And this is why healing is so important in a lifetime, to not pass up the opportunity to heal and become whole. It's not just for this moment in time, and it's even not just for ourselves, because we're also healing our lineage, and we're also a field of consciousness that heals everybody around us when we are healed and when we are whole. So I will end it there.